You are sitting pretty in your power, which begs the question, who gonna check me, boo? The answer definitively is no one. Additionally, this is a snapshot, if you will, of a power couple in holy matrimony. Same question applies, same answer sustains. What God has put together, let no man separate. It is so, and so it is. What's up, everybody? It's me, Danae. I'm here on Friday, August 21st, 2026. It's 8:37 on the clock, 8:37 p.m., and I hope you're doing well. This was the pre-shuffle message that, if I'm being honest, these cards were here for the past 2 days. Like, I've been coming to the table and shuffling. Well, since 2 days ago is when I just let it rest. But I was coming to the table every day since Monday and shuffling and tapping in, and I was channeling. But something was just keeping me at bay from recording and from sharing. And the messages got pretty deep at some times, and I sat with it and resolved that it wasn't the moment to share what I was sensing, or at all perhaps, but I didn't have the green light to share in the way that I felt that I was channeling and that I was picking up. And I also think that subsequently it was the divine urging me to still take some time of rest and relaxation, because I was out and about a lot last week, like constantly, as a matter of fact, more than usual for me, because I'm pretty balanced in my outside in exposure, like I try to do things during the week when it's not heavy crowds and traffic when I can. I try to go to places at low peak times and things like that, because I'm just really careful about my energy, and people are on one these days, and I absorb a lot. But last week I was just incited to just go, 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 go. And I'm so glad I did, because as I shared, I had a lot of fun. But I think, you know how sometimes you almost have to take a vacation from vacation? And I think, like, I kind of underestimated how much rest and recovery I needed, and then TMI alert, my cycle came on, and it was kind of like, the perfect storm to really just sit my ass down and just restore. So, you know, as if I needed to make any excuses or concessions for my absence, I'm just sharing in case it might be a cue or a sign for someone else, that if you need the rest, take the rest. And I needed the rest. I feel a lot more rejuvenated. And I'm also feeling like some things are about to swing into a different direction, either with my channel or just, just gearing up for the fall season overall. So I'm kind of staying open to how that transition gets to take place as well. In case you haven't noticed, I am not too hard on myself when it comes to routines and systems and such. I maintain devotion and consistency where I feel guided, but sometimes you just got to take a little detour from the business as usual. Sometimes you feel called or pulled or directed in ways that aren't necessarily in alignment with what you're used to, but it makes all the sense in the world. Usually in hindsight, when you look back, then sometimes we allow it to make sense for us in the moment. So if you're feeling a particular nudge or pull, especially coming off of the summer, which has been kind of wild, and usually, like, sometimes we try to, if your kids aren't back in school, which is kind of like half and half here where I live. Like, some kids go back early, but for the most part, our kids go back after the Labor Day holiday. So it's still summer here, very much so. And sometimes you try to really cram in all the fun that you can before it's back to business and the fall starts to set in. But don't take for granted that you need to recharge, especially if you're spongy like me or particularly sensitive to other energies. There's a lot to grapple with out there, a lot to alchemize, a lot to transmute. So take your time when you need to, okay? All right, without further ado, what we're gonna do right now is just cut it up a little bit. These are kind of sticking a little bit. Oh, by the way, just just in case you didn't know or you haven't been here over the past week or so, I'm using the Mahogany Tarot deck by Cashapp DaneeDivine. It's kind of like my favorite thing right now. And as much as I love my black and white deck for its simplicity, I also love this deck for the color and the spice. So this is what I've been drawn to lately. So we're going to keep going until further notice. Ooh, whoa. Star card, star card. All right, some type of wish being granted or fulfilled, or someone coming into and being discovered or coming into discovery. I don't know. Let me see. Let me get one on that. Which way is the star going? Could be healing. Could be all of those things all together that are intertwined and connected. Oh, could be, well, it makes sense with the original message. Like, you're sitting in your power, your creativity, you and your partner or your counterpart, whether you have made connection as of yet, but this is the energy that either masculine and feminine are sitting in separately. Soulmates are soulmates are sitting in, sacred partners are sitting in individually, a union is sitting in collectively, and or what was the other thing I just heard? Oh, just you individually are in one whole being of balance, being healed in both your masculine and feminine force, and there being a synergized alignment between those polarities that allows you to function in your fullest capacity, which for sure and for certain is star quality right there. So all of that could apply. Take it as a resonate. All right, what we got on this star? So I can hurry up and cover her up. Oh, not the dull or shine and nothing like that, but it's a lot going on. Very, very distinct illustrations in this deck. Star, bear, and all. I'm not getting any cards that want to speak. What's up? Oh, full card. Full. Now it kind of flipped around on the floor, but I'm going to take it upright because you can't start with the full and all of that positive energy and have it be anything but positive. Unless we're just talking about someone who's certainly not new to this, they're true to this. So take that, take that for what it's worth as well. Like somebody that's been at their healing, on their healing journey for a long time. Maybe it's not quite the beginning, but it's the end or the culmination of a season of healing. And this is like the grand finale of sorts, the season that you're in currently, or the moment. Like this is like you are the moment. I just heard that, like you are the moment in real time. That so maybe it's a struggle because of like the transitional aspect of it, where you're closing the cycle of the becoming and stepping into sheer being. I love that. I love that. Let me get one more on that full. But yeah, it's like no longer like the process of grooming and learning and growing and all the build up that we're used to, that we're probably more accustomed to than the actual, like, I don't know why I want to say consummation. Oh man, what's this about? Are we walking away from this? Let me see. What's this about? Like the build, like the build up, the learning, the process, the all of that. Like, well, the Ten of Wands is definitely an ending, but I don't love that the Eight of Cups directionally is headed that way, like into a struggle as opposed to away from one. So let me get something here. Let me get another one. What's on the bottom, matter of fact? The Chariot. There's the will and determination right there. But is that the strength that is... okay. Maybe that's what I'm speaking of. Like what has been wrapped up and what it has taken to do so. Like there was a great deal of pressure and upheaval, perhaps. A lot of things that had to be left behind or turned away from, released. Okay, a lot of struggle that needed to be released to reach this pinnacle point of the star here, where you get to kind of walk in your refinement. This was the process. So it wasn't pretty, which definitely rings to the point of you're not new to this, you're true to this. Because if you've been through the fire in this way, 10 of Wands, that's a lot. That's a lot of energy. And 8 of Cups is always a pretty decent prospect of potential, because it just signifies that when to hold them and when to fold them, pretty much. Like, even after you've given it all you got, when it's just time to just move on, and there's nothing else to hold on to, or nothing else left to hold out for, nothing else to pour yourself into, even if it was sufficient for a season, maybe even for multiple years or lifetimes, even, when it's like, all right, this is all that I'm going to get from this thing. And even if it is hard to do, if it's a struggle to do, to pick up and move on, maybe even start over, or to put my faith and trust in something else, then that's what I'm going to do. It's a lot of faith energy here, faith and perseverance. Because even to have a wish, to believe in a destined outcome, is faith driven. let alone to pursue it and then to go through all of the obstacles, trials, tribulations, setbacks, resistances that are necessary, process that's necessary to achieve. Yeah, that's definitely chariot energy, not unstoppable until you get to that optimal result or ending or beginning. Oh, the Three of Swords, a lot of trauma here. This ain't been no life ain't been no crystal stairs. Ten of Wands, the Three of Swords. Oh hell yeah, this is like a phenomenon here. That's what it's given to have this much. Let me see. Hold on. Let me get one more on this pile. What is the nature of this? Well, actually, I have my answer, because the Three of Swords it represents the past, and even the 10 is closure. So yeah, like coming to, some definite closure about trauma, past trauma and heartbreak. Why it all, perhaps why it all had to be this way. Some conclusive revelation, perhaps. Even if it's not a favorable one, even if it doesn't feel good, to kind of know. Well, I'll say this, because it feels like there would be some relief. I get relief by the Eight of Cups, for the most part, and the 10 being the ending. So even if the news or the revelation or the truth that is resolved in the end of this whole cycle or season that seems to be culminating is distasteful, let's say, or hurtful or hard to hear, something about it is also, like I said, liberating, and I actually said relieving. That kind of like lifts a weight off the chest, a burden off the shoulders, to actually now fully exist in the capacity that you were destined to anyway. That's what I'm getting. Like something finally being relieved, being confirmed, revealed, ended. Could even be a breakup or something like that, or just like the truth about why something had to end the way that it did, or why it went the way that it did. And also like how, what I'm definitely sensing, because we led with the Star and the Fool, but what I'm definitely sensing is that whatever is revealed or concluded, it somehow adds value to a present state of identity. Like it's somehow affirming or what's the right word? Like give some type of assurance. Maybe may even be a source of confidence that adds to the two cards in the beginning of the spread, that kind of really like restores your sense of power and your whole identity, because there's nothing left to be desired. The good, bad, and the ugly is all out in the open on the table. It's all known, it's all revealed, it's all accounted for, and it's all over at the same time. So I just feel like a freeing energy, like a lightening of the heart, where it's like, oh, okay, well, now that that's over, the worst is behind you. That's what it's given. And I know that's said quite a bit, but I truly feel that I feel that coming, where you can finally be rest assured that the worst is truly, oh, look at who's here again, the Empress. The worst is truly behind you. And it's everything that has made you who you are. So you couldn't take it back or regret it, even if you wanted to. That's the thing. It's like there might be some things that you wouldn't have chosen for yourself, or some experiences that wouldn't have been on your, on your bingo card or your bucket list. But if it had not been for those experiences, for those things, those pressures, those tribulations, those trials, those unsavory occurrences, those heartbreaks, disappointments, perhaps, you wouldn't be who you are today. And would you trade one for another truth? Probably not. I think that's the relieving aspect of it. Kind of knowing that it wasn't in vain, or at least feeling that none of it was in vain. And transmuting that energy, which you must have done already to have reached the point of prestige, such as the Empress and the Emperor. Transmuting those experiences for your greatest good and healing from them, which sometimes means that you've had to have multiple starts over. Maybe you had to pick yourself up from multiple endings, heartbreaks and disappointments, breakups, betrayals. It may not have been just a one and done occurrence, but you've learned each and every time how to get better and stronger and be more resilient than the last. And so knowing that that's what you got out of the deal also adds another layer of reward to who you experience yourself to be now in this moment. Like, it kind of, in a strange way, kind of like sweetens the pot or something like that. I don't know. It's the thing that you got out of it that you weren't necessarily even, like I said, that like you weren't, or maybe you were. Maybe that's the thing. Like, there was something that you desired or aspired to be in the essence of the Empress and the Emperor, just like at the top of your game, whatever that means to you. Super evolved, matured, ascended, like whatever the level of success equates to by that Emperor, Empress energy, that you desired to be. So you did kind of set the activation in motion to some degree, but you definitely wouldn't have chosen it if you knew all that it would take to get there, which is probably the divine kind of withholding some of that from you, like revealing it as you go along. Because if you were able to see the full scope of A to Z, let's say, on that fool's journey, you may not have taken it if you knew how many losses and betrayals and disappointments you would have to endure, how many broken hearts you would have, how many times you might even disappoint yourself, how many failures, how many restarts, and all that type of stuff. Like, you may not have gone the distance, but it was something about experiencing yourself evolved at each turn of that cycle, at each point in that process that kept you going in that chariot energy. Interesting. Wow, three of cups. I'll just put it here. Let's see what we got here. Three of Cups. Yeah, something to celebrate now. Something to appreciate. Like when you look back over your life, the seasoned saints used to say that in church testimonies. You know, when I look back over my life and I see how good God has been to me, see all that God has brought me through, I say thank you. Seriously though, it really does apply here. Like you have a testimony of the best of times and the worst of times, apparently. And how you made it through it all. Your own brand of a testimony. It doesn't, we're not to be compared or contrasted or competing with anybody else's walk of destiny, their destined path. But as far as you're concerned, yeah, there were some things that might have been pretty tough. May have been really discouraging at times. But you kept going. You kept the faith. You kept your wits about you. Praise be to the Most High. You stayed in your right mind. And you kept moving forward, or picking yourself up and trying again. Continue to believe in love no matter how many times you were disappointed in it. Continue to maintain your integrity no matter how many times you may have felt betrayed. Continue to believe in your dreams and to pursue your passions no matter how many times you felt like a failure or you felt like you had a false start. And now we got this Three of Cups that says what exactly? Or what more, I should say, the Three of Cups. Everything is fine. Literally, the worst is over. And I don't always see the Ten of Swords as everything is fine, but that's the first thing that I felt. Like, the worst is over and you still have the will to praise, gratitude in your heart, a song in your spirit. That in itself is the mark of a supreme being. When you could have been betrayed 10 times over, at least, had to bear your cross, organically and inorganically. Because I'm just thinking about Jesus right now, like in terms of the crucifixion. It's like he already, as far as the text goes, he was already accepting of his fate once he, you know, once it was established and evident. They don't really, they never really give you like that point of acceptance, but it's like almost assumed that he always knew, like from birth, that that's where I don't, just humanly, that doesn't really make sense that he would know that that was his ultimate fate, would be demise. But at whatever point, it became clear where his destiny, the path, the steps along his destined path. It was never necessarily outlined how it should go, and I'm sure, it was quite a surprise to his human being, as this, just based on the story, you don't have to believe it, but to his human being, just how cruel and vindictive people that he ultimately came to serve could be. When you think about the description of the experience, like the experience of his treatment, from being thrown around, passed around to different leaders, lied on by his own people, villainized, and then even physically being spat upon and beat and tortured pretty much all the way to the end. It's like you never could quite, like I said, maybe like even with us, perhaps you wouldn't know all if you had known all the steps. Maybe if Jesus had known how it was all going to go down, he might have been like, well, wait a minute, God. That's a little bit much, don't you think? But it's something to be said about the resilience too, and the I guess like perseverance is too mild of a word, but the faith to just stay the course anyway, when it was at its worst, and then perhaps got even worse than that, as if you thought it couldn't, and you really get to see the truth of how bad it could actually be, in the ways that you may have surmised, but in ways that may have been completely, a complete surprise to you, that may have completely caught you off guard. I don't even really know like how to finish that thought, but and if I have finished it, but that's what I saw when I'm thinking of the 10 of swords and then the 10 of the 10 of wands. It's like that's what I was saying, because it's like naturally that was the fate, if you believe, if you just go by the text. But how it got to go down, or how it would ultimately go down, that part about it probably wasn't so organic or so natural. That was like the extra spice, the extra salt in the wound, so to speak. The stuff about it that could have made one, just in their human form, say this is too much, or to backtrack or retreat or give up, but yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I'm relating to the same experience where you could never have known. Imagine like some of the closest people to you actually being the biggest surprise and disappointment, or secretly feeling a type of way about you that you could never imagine they'd have the capacity to feel, or things that just felt like they should have been a natural progression in life, seemingly being impossible to achieve. And as I've said, like some of that might have been natural to just groom your character and to train you and build you up, build your muscles for the culminating moment of time. But some of that, as we know, was very impure and very intrusive, where people imposed their will either against yours or in as an intrusion to where you were headed naturally, in ways that ultimately were used for your greatest good and transmuted for your highest good and in a higher frequency, but by no means were natural, or organic. But yet you could have never fathomed that that might even be possible until, alas, it was. But the star of the story really is not so much the trial and tribulation, the betrayals, the defeats even. It's the resilience, it's the faith, it's the tenacity, it's the devotion, the determination that ultimately is what has yielded the supreme being that is sitting in a posture of autonomy, perhaps even sovereignty as we speak, because you've been tried and true. Well, because you are tried and true. Let me get one more here under the Ten of Swords. And I get like this, it was a delayed gratification. It was by no means any type of microwave results here. And it's also been a long time coming to close this cycle that has seemed to be on repeat, on rinse and repeat for a long time. Interesting. Let me get one more on this Knight of Pentacles. Oh, what's on the bottom? Oh, but there's the crossover. There's the retreat. The escape. It was, like I said, it was a long time coming, but it's most certainly a present reality now. And one, as we know, with the Knight of Pentacles, once it is actualized, you can really depend on that. It's not frivolous, it's not fly by night, it's not unreliable. It's quite a substantial security that is coming out of this closed and complete season of, I don't even know what to call it, tribulation. Are we moving on from the Knight of Pentacles, or do I get one more there? Oh, I'm taking that. Nine of Cups. It's like something in this reading wants so bad to drag out some old reality, to create yet another delay from the inevitable, from the faithful at this time, for the faithful. But it's just not, it's not so. And I'm getting chills. And I mean, from the full card trying to turn around to this little pile, like almost trying to drag you back, pull you back to some reality or timeline that even in the evidence of the worst cards you could get in terms of the suits, it still depicts an ending. It still says it's over, it's done. There's nothing to go back to. The worst is behind you. Like, you've already moved on, you've already healed, you've already evolved, you've learned the lessons, you've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and you ain't never going back. There's an energy, and perhaps it's the evidence, as I said in the beginning, like, who gonna check me, boo? Now, it's funny, you know, if you don't know, that's a line from The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Sheree Whitfield, I think is her last name, famously said many, many seasons ago, and it just, you know, went viral for a very long, like, that's probably her most infamous line to date. And she's left the show, came back to the show, and is off the show again, and people still remember that line. But it's something about that where somebody is, there's an energy that's still trying to like put you in your place, trying to put you down, trying to rain on your parade, trying to question everything that you know to be true for you, everything that you've worked for, everything that you've earned. It's like there's an energy that's so persistent, even in these few little cards, to challenge everything about you. And it might show its ugly, rear its ugly head internally, you know, as self-doubt or questioning, but it might actually be an energy that exists outside of you, whether it be from, like, we've been having a lot of talks about heartbreaks and people that you thought were close to you, that were supposed to have your best interest, that you trusted, that turned out to be something different, or disappointment in some way. There's an energy that really is wanting to do its absolute damnedest. And I mean literally their damnedest, because in this climate, this cosmic climate, you are ultimately damning yourself to try to damn someone else. So that's the desperation that I'm sensing, that someone at least wants company in their own misery, at the very least, or they somehow feel like they should have what you have, or that you haven't earned the right to be so confident, to be so self-assured, to take up the space that you are, whether that's actually in a physical way, a material way, in some type of position, in a to feel empowered, just to feel comfortable in your own skin, to feel aligned with your own fate and destiny, to feel fulfilled in any particular way. Somebody is just not, they just can't accept that this is your fate, and that it's a good fortune. And regardless of what they tell themselves or maybe tell others, who gonna check me, boo, rings true, because if the divine has outlined this destiny for you, there is no one, no man for sure, and not even any lesser spirit, that is going to stop that fate. No one is going to, as I said, what God has put together, has brought together, let no man separate. And that could be two people. That could be you from your destiny and your fate. That could be you from what you have rightfully earned or proven to be in alignment with, or proven to be a match for. It could just be sheerly the state of self-assuredness that you have healed for in your own right. Not just the organic way, you know, that the natural way, but as I said, you even took some extra bumps and bruises and attacks and things on the chin, maybe shouldering the weight of the world to some degree, or perhaps the weight of your bloodline in ways that you didn't even necessarily have to do, but you took it for the team. And here it is, somebody sitting on the sidelines that's not even actively in the game, certainly not playing fair, that feels like they have the right or just have the nerve to dictate what you should have, what the scoreboard should read, what wins you should really be entitled to. Like, what? That's the energy I'm feeling. That's the energy I'm feeling. And I mean, is it really worth addressing? No, but I felt like it was worth acknowledging because of the insistence the insistence and resistance that could show up in other ways in your life, or just knowing that it's still there, it exists, but to no avail, because like I said, you're already sitting pretty in your power. You've already been confirmed and ordained to whatever position of creativity, authority, autonomy, sovereignty that the divine has decided is due to you. So hell if anybody else is going to stop that. Like, they're just wasting their time and energy. Look, you're already gone. You're already on your way. Like I said, somebody trying to pull you back onto a timeline that has already collapsed. It doesn't even exist anymore. Not as far as you're concerned. What they may be doing is confining themselves to that timeline. And that would be a sin and a shame because they don't even belong there. They're literally sacrificing themselves to pull you into a space where they don't even belong. They shouldn't even be there. It's like somebody whispering subliminals, you know, and it could be projections about, remember that time when you ain't had no money? Remember that time when you started that business and nobody was interested? Remember that time when you used to be 30 pounds lighter? Remember that time? Like, somebody's really just trying to throw everything, every possible jab that they think could, here it is, that's why the fool was in a struggle, that they think could get you to somehow regress and retreat back into a lesser light of yourself. Like I was saying before, like, didn't I say something about don't dim your light? Like, that's what somebody wants to do so desperately. They're running out of ways, of strategies to do so, but damned if they ain't trying. Wearing themselves out, trying to make some type of impression. That's wild that came up like that. Like, you already 8 of Cups, well on your way. Like I said, been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and here they go trying to show you pictures from that trip. you know, and it could, like I said, it literally could be projections in your mind, you know, could be sending dream energy, stuff for you to dream about or think about, you know, to bring you back to a space where you were less sure or felt less secure or certain. You know, it's like, nah, it's too little. Look at this, the magician. Exactly. It's too little too late at this point. That ship has literally sailed. They want you to be one of them people that's running for the cruise ship when it's taking off because you got left at the dock in a foreign country where you have no jurisdiction, no citizenship. That's what I'm saying. It's like they want you stuck in a place where you just don't even belong anymore. You don't, there's no residence there for you. And the energy that's trying to be connected to you of that place and time no longer has a place to reside. It's the biggest waste of energy because the more, like I said, it's like somebody's compounding that experience onto themselves. Little do they know, for every projection, every sword, every wand that they project, it's like a it's self-inflicted. Whether they realize that, I mean, God, how many, to the point where, like I said, it's not even meant for them to experience the level of blowback and backfire that they are literally inflicting upon themselves. Like, they got their own set of karma, their own set of reckoning for things that, like I was saying before, like natural order of life, you know, to pay your karmic debt like everybody else, the organic way. But what they're doing is literally compounding that experience with interest, with every insult, every projection, every malintention that they hurl. It's like you already had enough to manage on your own. You ain't need the thorn of crowns and the cross on your back and the whips and the spit and the, you know what I'm saying, the vinegar in your wounds. Like, do you really want to hang yourself out to dry that way? Oh no, this is kind of weird. All right, I'm just getting one more here with this magician. Let's close this out. Where are we on the bottom? Yeah, Nine of Pentacles, exactly. Like, it is finished. It is finished. Wow, that's a lot. But yeah, somebody's grounded in this season of prosperity and, again, good fortune and favor, where things are working out in the best possible way that they can. Like, things are materializing in good fortune and favor and abundance. Like, that's the normal with the Four of Pentacles. It's an everyday occurrence. It's what's to be expected. What you can rely on, what you can depend on. It's not a fluke. It's not something that is easily, you know, that's vulnerable to be manipulated or changed or disturbed. No, this is solid. It doesn't matter how much energy is thrust to disturb this foundation. It's set. It's set. The cement has dried. And you could not even with a jackhammer could you effectively disturb this foundation at this point, because there's a barbed wire fence around the perimeter that's electrified at that. So like I said, at this point, you would do yourself a great disservice, or anyone that you employ or recruit, perhaps either to do the dirty work for you or to go to collaborate with your efforts. It's just going to be a bad situation. Like, if you don't, at this point in time, if your focus is not on how you can advance and enhance your own personal life and well-being, then I don't know what the hell you're doing. You just might as well hang it up. You're wasting your time. Exactly. Eight of Pentacles. If you're not working on building a life for yourself in the most honest way, an integral way possible, you're just, I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't even know what to say. You're just buying your time before expiration, or what. I don't even know. I don't even want to damn anybody by saying what I'm feeling. So it's just like, wow, with the Ten of Pentacles. Like, this is the only way to sustainable achievement anymore. Everything else is just not profitable, not sustainable, not purposeful. I don't, like, and to bring it all back to the most positive aspect of it all, the beginning to the end, you worked for this. You deserve this. This is literally the proof. And then what did I just show you? But the nine of, was it the Nine of Pentacles that I showed you? I think it was, right? That was on the bottom of the last shuffle. The link between these two. The work has been put in. The self-actualization in spirit and in flesh has been accounted for and surveyed and approved. This is the inheritance in the kingdom that, like I said, that gets to be built on the foundation that was already set in stone. All you had to do pretty much was walk your path to align, to come into that alignment that was divinely timed. And like I said, you would have had no way of foreseeing just how rough that road could get. I would venture to say any more than Jesus could have ahead of his time. Because we like to believe that Jesus was all-knowing of everything, but to take the text at face value, ain't no way. Ain't no way Jesus knew that it was going to get that bad. Because even in the end, he cried out for a little moral support. So nobody can separate you from the fate and fortune that you have shown and proven yourself worthy to inherit and inhabit. It's just a waste of time and energy for anyone to try and check you, boo. They need to check their damn self and internalize all of that criticism in the most graceful way possible to be self-reflective. If there could be any positive use for such energy, that's the only way it's to be harvested in a season and in an age such as this. Otherwise, it's just wasted energy, and it's literally like self-harm, self-inflicted aggression and violence that, as I said before, is just in nobody's plan, not even the divines. Not even the divine desires for you to just be out here hurting yourself to no avail. Use that power and that energy for something productive. Why don't you? And be inspired by those that are the products of that perseverance. Despite all that they had to go through naturally, and despite all that they had to endure in the most inorganic ways imaginable, some of which still haven't even been revealed yet, but they're about to be. There's about to be a conclusion for all of this, to just wrap it all up with a nice little bow, to finally close that chapter of suffering and move into that full state of sovereignty. You being a sovereign being that is fully aligned with the abundant inheritance that was always due to you, that always had your name on it. So I'll leave that there. Thank you for listening and watching. And man, oh man, I just gotta say, because if people are provoked based on what they think is coming to you, what they think you might be capable of or growing into, evolving into, they're gonna lose their damn minds if they don't pivot. When there actually is the evidence, when it's quite apparent all that you are, all that you have, and what you're capable of, and what you have the potential, when your potential is actually is literally actualized, they're gonna lose their damn minds. So my prayer is that folks would quit while they are as ahead as they're ever going to be, right here, right now, in this moment, before they are stuck in some type of psychosis or literally never land where nothing is ever going to work out for them. That's not the will of the divine for any of its creation, where there is time and opportunity and will and ability to have it turn out differently. So, but in the meantime, it is what it is. And as far as you are concerned, it's really of no consequence to you directly. Thanks for listening and watching. Until next time, as always, I'll leave you with peace.